Welcome back, everybody. We got to go ahead and do
Welcome,
this.
welcome, welcome.
Yeah, we have to do this redo for Mr. Jimmy. Technology and shit, right? So, anyways, Jimmy, how you doing, brother?
Fantastic. After a long day's work.
Yeah,
It's good
are
to
you
talk
guys in
about some
summer?
geckos. Huh?
Yeah, are you guys in summer or are you still?
Not yet. I mean, today was the last day of classes for the high school
Oh, okay,
students here.
cool.
And then they go into a whole testing. So it's not officially over for them until the 26th.
Oh
So we
man,
go to the end of June here in New York.
damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we've been out since like May 23rd.
But I think you guys start school a little earlier.
Oh,
My
yeah,
kids
yeah,
don't
yeah.
start. We don't start until after Labor Day.
Yeah, we don't. We start. It always
August,
changes every year. It's like I think this upcoming year starts July 31st.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's early. That's early.
Yeah, and it's blazing hot. Like I was just telling Aunt right now, dude. I was driving home, and I looked at my temperature in the car. That shit said 120. I was like, God damn. But we are here today. We're gonna talk, some updates with Jimmy. Some Star Night Gecko stuff. We'll get in some other stuff. We'll see what happens. All right. So let's kind of just get into this blueberry stuff. What is all that about? What's going on there?
So blueberry is one of the few, I guess, one of the newer established morphs in the U.S. They've been around for a little bit. I think in Korea they were the first to really captive breed them, but here it's a paradox type of animal. It's a really cool animal because it does have, when depending on how it fires up, it has that granite looking pattern where it's like instead of those normal red dots on the gecko, it's like a blue body with some black dots that's showing. But then they'll also show the paradoxing. It's like a deep blue, almost like a blueberry blue color. So that's on the feet, the toes, and usually the tip of the tail. So it's a really cool animal. And sometimes it stretches over, and depending how it fires up. But most of the time, especially the males, they fire up a bright powder blue color with these, contrasting dark blue patches on the feet. So it makes for a very, contrasting animal. Contrast always
Yeah.
makes an animal look really sharp.
So speaking of Korea, because it always seems like they're always like kind of ahead of the game in this stuff right now, right? Like in Tokyo, wise, what are all that they working with over there that hasn't came over here yet, or is that
I
still top secret
believe
stuff?
top secret. I don't think it's top because I think with social media, everything becomes really, everybody's like ready to
No
share.
secrets.
And no secrets, right? It's like very.
Well, it's no secret. It's after it gets released, now is
That's true.
how deep those pockets.
Yeah, that is true. And some of them are pretty deep. I believe that we have almost every morph that is there. The only one that I would say is there is a morph called the Luna morph, which is not available here. Not that I know of yet. And that is probably the only like proven type of, I guess, the equivalent of what would be a leucistic animal or something similar, because
Okay.
it is an all white type animal. I actually think it's more similar based on the pictures I've seen to like an ivory ball python. An ivory is almost
Okay.
like a leucistic, as it has a white body with the black eyes, but then an ivory ball has that on the dorsal. They have a little bit of pattern, just like in the Luna morph. It's like a white gecko with black eyes, but then there's some like gray patches on the top. Not to
Okay.
be confused with the pieds and the
Yeah.
pieds that we have here. That's kind of that
Mhm.
gets imported every once in a while. Those are just different animals in different phases of their transition from normal to granite to low white pied to medium. Sometimes they call them calico, and then some of those animals develop into basically all white animals. Those I don't consider true leucistic because that's a very progressive transition versus something that's born. We've seen pictures of babies that are born like with that lunamorph, and I believe it is also simple recessive, from what I've been told. But that I do not think is represented in the States yet. Going back to blueberry, and blueberry is actually I just want to add, it is a simple recessive morph. So I was referring them to very similar. Sometimes when you look at it, you can't really see the paradox in their feet. It almost looks like a nice looking blue granite. The only difference is the granite and the pieds that we are used to. The genetics is still very up in the air. You can breed granites together. You might not get granites. I mean, You'll definitely get all normals, and then some of those babies will turn into granites and pieds and so on and so forth. But like with the blueberry, you have two blueberries, you breed them together, they do produce blueberries. That's how I produce mine, and it is a simple recessive morph. So,
Okay.
but
how much those animals go for?
Babies, I've been selling for $2,500.
Woo! Woohoo, Jim! Hey,
I've been watching Morph Market. Yeah,
yeah.
that seems like in the going rate.
It's like
that's awesome. I didn't know they were that much.
It's the work that gets put into establishing the wild caught animals.
For sure,
it's still not a morph that is even wild caught ones. Like it's not the really common. You're not really going to be able to get those. So it's me. I believe Underground has a couple. Michael Heaton at Underground also. He was probably the second one here in the U.S. to. Really
That's
produce.
awesome.
So there's two of us, and there's a couple. I've let go a couple of the babies from my pair. So there's a couple of different people that are working with the blueberry morph.
Now, when you let that go, being that you've produced them, you kind of have a big responsibility on your shoulders. You can either sell them to whoever's got the money, or you can be super selective and give them to people, sell them to people that you feel are going to
further that project.
Further the project. I mean, what are you doing? Are you just selling them to anybody that's got the money? Or are you looking for specific people you got relationships with or know that are doing work? How have you gone about that whole thing?
For the most part, I'll have to say at that level of animal, I think that's one of the reasons why I do price them a little higher, because I do want them to get established, and the people that are willing to pay that kind of price are people that are interested. They're like, and I'll have to say, like a Tokay interest is still pretty. I mean, it's definitely growing, but I think it's definitely like a niche kind of market where it's like it's very you have to be really interested in Tokays to really.
Yeah.
So it's that in itself, to have more than one of these mean geckos that you can't really touch all the time, it really does take a special type of person. So anybody that's willing to drop that kind of, money on a baby is pretty much a serious,
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
And I believe all the babies that are out there are with people that are working with Tokays. So I believe that in another...
How many of the blueberries, how many different bloodlines do you have?
I have 2 pairs, but the babies that I've sold are from this one pair.
Okay. So you still have a whole nother pair that has
correct that I'm trying to, and I have I have 2 additional lone males that are not paired up. So
what's the most expensive Tokay morph? Is that the most expensive morph there is?
That's probably the most expensive one that's kind of out there, that's kind of available. I think the one that's probably the most desirable that I get a lot of messages about is obviously Super Red is the one that is.
Yeah.
Everybody wants their high red animal.
No, my watch called 911.
Oh.
Well, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I'm trying to clean my watch. Oh my god, dude. I'm literally trying. My watch is freaking calling 911. Yo, you can't make this up, boy. Yo.
Shit.
Who does that? Who even makes this?
Oh man.
Is that what, the Apple Watch?
Yeah.
I stopped using it. I used to have one, and then I kept dropping it. It was just like, forget this.
Yo, I'm hearing an echo. Like, what the fuck is making this noise? It's a dispatcher on my goddamn phone, my watch. What the fuck?
Shit, that was funny. No. That was hilarious right there. Oh man, so because you're talking about some of the most expensive more. I think last time what was it? Dakota said something about. I think he dropped like 5 on the Super Red back in the day.
Diablo, crazy.
Diablo.
No, the Super Red.
Super Reds are pretty. As I've talked about this before. It is a morph that has been known to us. It's been represented in the States for at least hasn't been 10 to 15 years. It is pretty much it's a codominant morph, or possibly it's a dominant or codominant morph, right? You'll see babies. It gets represented in the first generation, so you can breed a Super Red to a normal, and you'll get theoretically half the baby should be these Super Red animals. The only thing is we're not quite sure. Like I'm not quite sure why. For an animal for a codominant morph, if you think about in, reptile keeping history, think about all the other codominant morphs that are out there. Give it 5 or 6 years and it's like all over the place. I mean, I'm just thinking about, lily whites and crested geckos. Think about all, what fueled a lot of the ball python craze, all the pastels, the spiders and all that. That stuff was well represented in 5 years' time. It was like a whole different, But for some reason, the Tokay Super Red, because I believe that there are only 2 codominant morphs in Tokays that we know of. One is the green codominant, or the reduced pattern. That one is very well represented. It's, although I have to say, I don't see that many available even on Morph Market these days. And then the Super Red is the other one. So those are 2 morphs that are that have been around for a long time, but one is definitely much better represented than others. So it is, we're trying to figure it out. I have 2 Super Red males. One of them is the one that I post usually all the time, and that's the one that I've been working with. And he did produce. I don't think it's so much him. Maybe it's the female in this case. The first female that I used with him, very prolific, got a lot of babies. But I have to say, it's I've been able to raise, but only one of those babies that I kept back actually turned out to be Super Red. So, and it's hard to figure out too because the babies hatched out. They're looking kind of like normal. You got to look for like really minute details. But as they get older, and it comes up, it shows really quickly as they're getting. You don't have to wait a long time.
Yeah.
The red gets more intense. It's like so Tokay gecko is really just a blue base with individual red dots. So imagine the red dots just kind of bleeding into each other to form like patches of red. And in the super red, it's just like extreme large bands of red, and then you'll see a little bit remnants of where there's no red, and then it's like that blue base color. That's what you're seeing in a super red. So that's basically.
When we talked about this last time, I couldn't help but looking at my Tokay, man. Yeah. I've been going crazy since. My Tokay, and I don't know anything about them, right? But my Tokay does not have individual red spots.
Yeah.
She has groups of like 3s and 4s, and they all like blend together. She came from Richie at the Gecko King, and she's a het albino, something albino, but I don't, fairly certain that doesn't mean anything. But I was wondering after looking at your animals the other day, you know how you showed us those pair that have individual dots?
Yeah.
Like that has to be something, right? Because my Tokay, it has to be something because mine is a normal looking Tokay gecko and she does not have individual red dots.
Yeah. So I think in a normal Tokay, you'll see some variation and then you'll see some of the red dots kind of blend into each other. I think in the super red, you'll have all the dots. Yeah, it's like they're all just blending. All these dots are just blending into each other. They're bleeding each other to form big patches of red. Versus those 2 animals that I showed you last time is where it's kind of like how, that those are 2 normal looking animals or normal-ish, what I'm calling. But those dots are very discrete and very separate from each other.
Yeah.
I would almost say that that's pretty much like what the candy dot morph is too. It's really, those dots are very individual, very discrete. And in the candy dot, or candy button or whatever, it's really, they almost form like a line of red dots where it's like a very linear, it's very...
So what's reduced pattern then? In the
reduced pattern, you will see a reduced pattern, it's going to be less of the red. The red would be the pattern. So you see less of the red. And
those animals you have don't constitute is reduced pattern? Those ones.
Reduced pattern is really, imagine what a powder blue is, or like a patternless. That is when they first came into the hobby. That was what they thought. It was this type of patternless. We knew that patternless was simple recessive, but then it turned out there were some patternless animals, which we now know are really just reduced pattern animals, that are codominant, not simple recessive. So they were reproducing in the first generation. You would see visuals. And that's because some of the very high quality, or what we would deem high quality, reduced pattern animals, especially the females, look like basically patternless animals, especially when they fire up. It looks like a blue-headed green, or blue-headed, blue-headed green is what they call them. So it's basically, you'll see less of the red dots, basically. So they used to be very, you go on Morph Market, every once in a while you'll see them. again, that's a well-established morph. Captive bred. They do get imported every once in a while as well.
So when you're like, say you're producing all these geckos, right? What are some things you're looking for in order to be like, you know what, I want to hold this one back? Because I've seen some of them posts. You're like, what's going on over here? Like that one that, like, what was going on with that one that had all that stuff going on his back?
So that was actually a pair that I thought was a pair of blueberries. That was one of the pairs that I had set up last year.
Uh-huh.
So they were sold to me as a blueberry pair. And then upon further inspection, I guess I was expecting the babies, and it's hard to tell, right? Because tokays really, depending on how they fire up or fire down, they look drastically different. It's really like night and day. The females of both pairs that I've set up last year, including the pair that did produce the blueberries, the females, I mean, 90% of the time they stay like a jet black color, like a velvety black color. You can't even, it's very hard to see the paradoxing. You have to get them to really fire up to see that. The males, on the other hand, do tend to show that powder blue color a lot more. But in this particular pair, I thought, I questioned even from the beginning when I imported them. I was just like, oh, this doesn't quite look like it. But the exporter said, oh, no, look at the toes. They're dark blue. So I was like, I guess so. What am I going to say, right? I can't send it back. So I kept them together. I bred them. They were a very prolific pair. I still think there must be like 6 or 7 babies in there of varying different sizes. And they produced, like, the first baby hatch, and I was just like, oh, that's not a blueberry. I thought it was, and that's when I messaged some of the breeders in Korea just to ask them, like, oh, because I knew that they already hatched blueberries. So we know what a baby blueberry looks like. I was like, oh, that's not it. And then, okay. Anyways, I kept them all back. I didn't sell any of those babies, at the very least. I knew that they were at least het blueberry because the mother, I was pretty confident, is a blueberry. If anything, they're double het for something, right? The male could have been something else. Anyways, and I didn't think much about it. And I've been keeping this, group of tokays together. They've been in the cage together. And then just literally, like, this is maybe like 2 weeks ago or something. And I was just like going through the cages and I'm feeding them. I was like, oh, notice one baby that was just out and about, because usually the whole family hides in a tube. But then I noticed this one baby that was out, and I was just like, oh, he looks a little different. And then when I looked carefully, I was just, oh, wow, he had like a whole patch of like black, like a whole black patch. And this is different than what a blueberry would look like. And then it was like several of these black contrasting paradox. I guess it is like paradox, but it's different than the blueberry paradoxing, because in the blueberry, it's really just, it's confined to the feet and the limbs and maybe the tail. This one was like on like this, where the armpit would be for us.
Yeah.
And it was pretty drastic. I was like, oh, that's pretty amazing. And then even when I was just grabbing just to check what the male was going to look like, even he fired up a totally different color on that particular day. Like normally he would look like a very nice looking granite, blue, like a whitish blue base color with some black dots and maybe a little bit of red. So, and then I was just like, oh, and then just that particular day when I was checking out that baby, it almost like that male turned into a totally different animal. He fired up in a way that I've never seen him. He almost looked like a very traditional paradox, which is, contrasting between dark blue and light blue, which is, so really, you really do have to hold the babies back, because I already know that, talking to a lot of breeders before, the problem with breeding tokays is, the morphs have been around for all of these for a long time, as I said. But it's really because the genetics are so not well understood. And some morphs follow the simple Mendelian genetics and some morphs don't. It's really holding back the babies and just seeing where they go. So like unless I know for sure that these are just normals or for sure what these are, I'm not going. I try to hold back. Of course, everything is pending space and stuff like that, because I can only keep so much. The same thing. I have another pair of like a high red animal. It's not like a super red. I knew it was different, but the animal had this like light orange color throughout the whole body, where pretty much like it's like not as intense as a super red. It was like somebody took like a little highlighter and just highlighted this tokay gecko with some orange. I bred it to a reduced pattern female. And again, they gave me a bunch of babies, and all those babies look normal. but I'm hesitant to move any of those babies. I'm actually holding back all of them to see how they develop.
What are you hoping to happens with that pair?
I was hoping that at least one of the babies would turn out to be that red would come up in the first generation, because I also know that, given how the other super red works, you have to hold back the babies. It's co-dominant, but you have to hold back babies to see how it develops. I was hoping to see, I've been holding these babies back for a while, and then if anything, I'm not seeing any pattern, any development or increasing red or orange in these animals. I'm still going to hold them back because it might be a simple recessive morph. It's like a different one. I actually paired that male with a different female, and I was able to get a female that was more similar to how he looks than the female that I used previously. So they actually have some eggs. So I'm going to see how that goes.
Nice.
A lot of times it's really trying to, you gotta pay attention to the little details to see, hey, it might not work. And this comes all the time. Like, you might pair two Tokays that you think are compatible in terms of genetics, but it turns out they're not. I mean, that's...
Do you line breed? Have you line bred Tokays? Is that something people are trying to do?
I have not done so myself. And I know people that have.
Oh, they have? Okay.
They have, and you can. I will say this, though, and I have heard reports of people having a hard time with it, too.
Oh, really?
Because I think they are pretty smart animals.
Well, we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, right? They remember. It's just like naturally, I think when they pair up, I think in the wild, they just go out and pair up, just like, because I've seen, I know one of my customers was talking about this. He was trying to pair, I can't remember if siblings or breeding offspring back to one of the parents, and it just wouldn't, they didn't get along. It's just like they wouldn't breed. And I'll tell you this, I mean, even when babies, I remove babies, I take them to shows when they're old enough to sell, but if they don't sell, I bring them back, and usually I put them back into the parents. Like, the parents recognize the babies. So I can imagine if they stay with the parents long enough, they're going to remember them even as, I can imagine that they remember them as adults. To me, that's more logical. And that, I think there's something naturally and a lot of evolutionary. I think a lot of animals are not prone to that kind of close.
Makes sense. It would answer a lot of things. It'd be a big explanation as to why there's not more consistency with these morphs and why individual lines don't technically work together. Like your albinos and different lines. I mean, they're not.
Yeah, and
definitely
I'll say
hard
this.
to refine.
Correct, and I'll say they are animals that bond also. So I've also heard reports of, some who told me this too, but like, that's the tricky part of breeding adult Tokay sometimes too. They sometimes remember if they were a long-term pair and you decide to like break up the pair and then repair them. That doesn't always work,
man. It's like heartbreaking, man.
Right? If you think of it, like, if you
take these animals out of the wild and they bring them back and they never breed in captivity. They got a girl out there somewhere in the jungle they were with for 15 years. Like, that's sad, man.
That is definitely in humans, that would be a story, right? That would be like a novel.
Yeah.
It'd be like a really sad love story or movie. Yeah. But I've been told that that's the reason why sometimes, there are different breeders have had animals that they've paired multiple times with different partners and it just doesn't work out. Because some of those animals are extreme. Because I will have to say, Tokays, the family unit, or that is pretty strong. They pretty, you can, as I said, they recognize babies, and I've had, an example where a baby and their parents were separated by like weeks, put them together, and they still remember each other. So they're definitely highly intelligent.
I think it's awesome. I got a selfish question.
Yeah.
Being that you work with Tokays and Leachianus, which are both like lifelong mating animals, like they pair for life, how would you compare the two as far as pairs and bonding? Do you see a lot of similarities with like a male and a female Tokay and a Leachy male and a female?
I definitely see a lot of similarities. They're both, the bond has to work. And I've had cases in Tokays where the pair, you put two together, it's, as I said, just putting a male and a female together does not guarantee you.
Does the female test the male like in leechies?
Yes, they do, but I will have to say, for the most part, I think in Tokays the males definitely get bigger.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say the males are probably much bigger.
Yeah, so I've had issues where I've literally had a male like break the jaw of the female for whatever reason. So
Sure.
that happened. Versus lychees, I think females and males are comparable in size.
Yeah.
So it's not, I wouldn't say that one, I've had cases of both genders being the more dominant or more aggressive of the two.
My female chumps my male. The one
Correct,
pair that I have,
exactly.
my female chumps the male each.
Yeah,
man.
because
She
the
ain't
size
playing.
is
She ain't
not
playing with shit.
as big. There's very little size difference. I mean, most cases, it's the males that's slightly bigger, but I would have to say my lychees, they're very similar in size versus the tokays. The males are definitely a lot bigger. I actually have found that very large males don't make great breed reception. And I think it's maybe the I don't know, just had a harder time with pairing them up with the right female.
Well, not for nothing. That's a natural. That's a human desire, right?
Yeah.
Like we desire larger animals.
Correct.
Not the wild, not Mother Nature. You know what I'm saying?
Like they need to be slim and athletic.
Yep. It's an us thing.
So something to keep in mind. Yeah, but it's definitely you have to find the right. You have to hope that they'll pair up, and then everything works out.
So when you're switching these pairs, like, because you said that you switched out like a male with a female and tokays, right? Yeah. So how are you going about that to where?
So I do a long-term, I switch for many reasons. For example, I'm going back to that super red, my original super red. The female that I used with him initially was a hybrid female. Super productive, but eventually I did lose her. So I had to try to repair him. And I waited a couple of months before repairing, like the next season, give him some time alone and stuff like that. I paired him up with a different female, like that had good weight and everything. I thought they would, get along and everything. They didn't really fight, but they never gave me any eggs. So then I waited swapped her out, waited a couple of months, and then try another female. Actually, that one didn't give me anything either, I have to say. And then this year, I paired him up with a normal female. And finally, this female is giving me eggs. Now, it could be issues with the female, but it could just be issues like he didn't like those two that I used in between. I don't know. We'll never know, right? I also have pairs that just don't give me any eggs. I've had pairs that lived together for like a year and a half and not a single egg.
Interesting. So, do you work with albinos?
I do have albinos. I have what I believe is a T- albino, and I have the T positive albino. They're obviously, the albino is a very tricky one, and I will have to say they've been established T positive lines, right? Logan, M95, and Josh, they both have proven their own lines of T positive. So the equivalent of a caramel albino.
Okay.
It has a slightly darker look to it. So that's been proven. T-, our classical amaleistic, I think there's a couple of people that do have animals, but I have not seen anybody that has a captive bred baby T- albino. I did see, I don't know if it was Park in Korea, he did post, or somebody posted in Korea, T- albinos. These are the classic, very white base, orange, like no black, and like these bright red eyes type of what we think of an albino. But so the albino is very hard. It's, I'll compare them to like snakes, since genetics, they're well known. Like, think about the ball pythons or the boas. There are different types of albinos. The different types of albinos are not compatible. I do have hets. So I have my T- albino. I paired him up with an albino female. They obviously produce two normal looking babies. I actually pulled them the other day because the pair starting to lay eggs for this season. And these are no longer babies. I mean, they're like big juveniles. So it's just before the new ones hatch, I just want to take out the really big ones. They're both normal looking normal babies. So I'm going to assume that they're double hets because obviously the male and female are two different types of albinos. So the female might be a T positive, I don't know, or just a different type of T negative.
I got that female from Richie, man. I have a female T. I'm assuming now after listening to that it's a T positive albino, but shit, I should just grab a male and try my hand.
Correct. And I will have to say there are a couple, and I've imported this myself. A couple of animals were labeled as albino, and I was just like, I don't know if this is really an albino. And I've seen people post different animals that look like that are labeled as albino. But again, I don't know if that's what an albino looks like. Looking at some of what I would, as I said, looking at the posts from people, the breeders out in Korea or whatever, I was like, well, that is what I expect an albino to look like, because some of these animals are just, at best, a hypo. Just
really
reduced black. I was just like, oh, I don't think.
Oh, that's not what I think when I think of albino. I'm thinking of like a bright orange and
Correct.
white.
Yeah.
That's exactly what an albino should look like. So the male that I have, that's my T minus. It's like, it's like a very whitish base color with just bright orange and red dots. The eyes are a little hard to tell, especially in adults, because then you have to see that as they get older, it's darker anyway, so it's really hard to see. But then babies, it's really easy to see, because most babies have like jet black eyes when they're born. So in an albino, you'll see the reddish. But again, it's really like, it's hard. The
They are
albinos
beautiful, though.
They are beautiful.
Those are beautiful. Those super white ones, like
Yep.
with the orange. I've seen a couple. Yep. I don't know much about them, but I mean, they're beautiful. Their orange is like this color, man. They're like.
But as I said before, albinos they pop up every once in a while. They've been popping up for the last 10 years.
Just out of like a regular pairing, an albino will pop up?
Or
that's how most things work, right?
They do. But I guess when I'm saying pop up is they popped up on somebody's list.
Oh,
they've been imported or exported. I've seen them for sale. And I've seen them for sale, but even before I got into It's Okay. So
you know what, reptiles, doesn't it make either of you think, though? Like, how come in reptiles we got to pair animals, very specific animals together to get albinos, but in nature, an animal could breed for 10, 15 years, and that same animal has regular babies, and in 1 year, boom, they spit an albino baby.
I mean, the reality is most albinos, for the most part, are simple recessive. And most albinos in many different animals, mammals and reptiles, are simple recessive animals. So even if there's an albino animal that spontaneously comes out, whatever, that's going to be a simple recessive morph. He or she has to breed most likely with a normal wild type. Those maybe are all hets. You have to somehow find two hets that are carrying both copies of this gene to breed with each other to get that to
helps
make that albino, right? So if you're looking at in the wild, that is going to be harder, because it's really, what are the chances that two normal-looking tokays that are both are carrying a copy of this gene come together? Now with tokays, it's a little easier because we believe that so I don't know a lot about like the wild behavior or natural behaviors of tokays. But if it's similar to what they do in captivity, tokays do kind of stay in one area, like a whole family kind of lives in the same area. They stay together for a long time. I imagine, even if you have a pair raises up babies, even when the babies go off, they're not going off too far. So there's a high chance that animals in a certain area are probably closely related to each other.
Sure.
For some reason. And that makes it easier to see different genes expressed. I mean, that is one of the theories about the pieds and the granites too. You're working with different lines of granites and pieds. That's why when you have to mix the right two pieds or granites together to really get it. And that's why there have been cases where you mix two together, outwardly they look the same, but they don't. When you produce them, you mate them together, you make babies, the babies will look normal. So
when you import an animal, do they tell you where it came from?
No. So it's
really, that matters. Kind of like what you're talking about. I bet it matters. Like it was caught in this region. I bet your probability of them reproducing themselves is greater than if you got one from the whole opposite side of Indonesia.
So I mean, just based on how my guy works, it's like he's like the middleman too. Like he is. There are different people that are catching them because they are caught by like the tons for what all the other purposes that they serve besides the pet trade. And then they know that the ones that are special looking, they pull out, and then those get sold to people that are, animal dealers and all that stuff. And then, I mean, the good thing about the guy that I work with, or, even I've worked with two different people and they've both been good. And like, they literally show me pictures.
How often are you importing?
At this point, it's once or twice a year. I actually don't. Most morphs are well established, and I don't need. It's also really it's a ton of paperwork to get them over here because they are CITES animals. It is a very regulated trade, so it is difficult.
Interesting for the rate that they eat the damn things. You know,
Correct.
like I've seen tokays on a stick. These motherfuckers
Oh,
were
yeah.
eating them, man. They were tokays on a skewer. Which, I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But damn, how do you make it so hard to just to send out of the state for the pet trade and keep the animal alive,
Yeah.
but you could sell them on the street for a couple cents and on a stick?
I think that's why one of the reasons why the morphs are still holding their value. Look,
It's a lot of reasons, but yeah.
But the morphs, so there's wild caught tokays are still pretty affordable. I said this before because most of the wild caught tokays that are in the U.S. distributors are Florida wild.
Yeah,
They're invasive here, so that's the key thing. You know, you can't. So if they're in the U.S., it's a little different, right? You don't have to go through all that red tape and stuff. They still can get sold and distributed by the thousands or whatever. They've been holding their prices have not gone up too much. Versus the morphs I don't think there's any real morphs in Florida.
I was just going to ask that. Have they found any?
I think there's like a granite that's been found every once in a while, but it possibly there might have been. I've heard of, I think instances where like there's been a Florida wild caught albino.
No shit.
Damn.
I know that there were one or two of those that popped up, but I would say the vast majority of them are just normals or pretty normals or whatever.
They're healthy though. Them jokers look healthy.
So they're eating good out there.
They're versus all the morphs are still just, if you want like a true morph, whatever, most of them have to come from Indonesia. Because that's the only country that's really exporting them in any large numbers.
So I've been obsessing about, two your geckos. One is that melanistic one. So where did that one pop out from?
That one popped up from, actually, that is a captive bred animal, but captive bred in Indonesia. So my exporter actually had the parents of both of those animals. He has as adults, the melanistic one is a very dark gray black animal, has a little white patch on the head. Both parents, I've seen pictures of both parents, and that pair produced one baby, which he sent to me. And spectacular baby, and it looks good fired up and down. So I don't even know how you want to qualify it, but it's fired up, I guess I would say. You can see the individual, it looks like polka dots on a gecko. Really dark, not like a granite, like these are like dark, like big black circles, like just scattered around the body. It has a really cool look, and it's on like a very dark or like a light, like a grayish blue, grayish black base. And then sometimes I guess I would say fire down, it turns like a jet black color. And then jet black eyes too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the only one that's here. I have her. She's about to be 2, almost.
So you're getting pretty close.
Yeah, she's put on some size. I don't think I'm going to breed her this season. Maybe next season.
Yeah.
But she's a female. Females, you do have to be a little careful about. You can't breed them.
What are you going to pair her to? What do you got?
I don't know. That's an interesting one.
That's a $1 million question right there.
You got to see.
Well, if it's melanistic, it's going to kill your reds, right? It's going to kill your reds and oranges. So what do you? So you have to go like a patternless or a granite, one of them granite things or something.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not, or that's an amelanistic? Which one of these things kills reds? There's like a melanistic something that kills the red colors in animals, like in snakes.
I forgot the red one. What is it called?
It's not amelanistic or something. It blocks out
amelanistic
red.
Blocks out red. Axanthic blocks out yellow.
Axanthic, that's what I was thinking.
Axanthic blocks out the yellow. Axanthic would take out the yellow.
So you would have to go with something that's not. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well,
that's
you know what?
That's a task for you.
So especially when you're trying to prove morphs, though, the best way to really do it is to breed them to a normal or like a wild type, like something with nothing in it. So like how
you can see if it's codime or recessive.
Yes, exactly. So it's sometimes when you're mixing genes from the very start, it's hard to see what's really being displayed. And it's hard because both parents were visual. I actually don't know if this is simple recessive or codominant or anything. The mother is no longer, she passed, so right now there's only this male.
Man.
You found 2 of them though, huh?
Correct.
2.
So that's a case where you put 2 animals that looked alike and then it worked out and then it produced a baby that was a visual. So that's one of those cases. So I'm hoping, I know that my guy has that male re-paired up with a different, not the same, obviously not with the same type of female. So hopefully whatever babies he gets, they'll be hets, and then I can get some hets, and then I can speed up my process.
Yo, do you ever want to go over there and just like stomp around the jungle?
I know.
Bro?
I wish.
Like in my head, I'm visioning like myself looking at trees, like, oh, that one looks like this. Oh, that one looks like I can see like.
I mean, you know what? Look, I gotta even. I want to see a tokay in like. I've been to Miami a couple of times recently, but I haven't really gotten herping or anything like. I see other invasive species all over, you know, like that are in the city or in the parks and stuff like that. I would love to go see a tokay gecko.
Go deep in the jungle,
right?
Yeah.
I want to. Next time I go down south, I'm going to try to get somebody to take.
I saw a thing on YouTube yesterday or something. There's actual documented invasive Nile crocodiles in South Florida now. Not like American crocodiles, Nile crocodiles.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Where the fuck did they come from?
I think it's the same as all the other ones. I mean, think about. I mean, all the talk about the berms when they were first discovered. You know, they would never establish themselves. Well, they did establish themselves. I mean, I don't know.
They're never getting rid of them, Jimmy.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. I mean, it's the same thing.
Anywhere.
I've seen so many like there's red-headed agamas all over South Florida, all over green iguanas everywhere.
Oh yeah, and you remember when we did the thing with Phil, and he's like, turn his camera around. He's like, there's a iguana in my backyard.
Yep.
I was like,
and it's like, I mean, literally, I was at the Miami Zoo, and there were green iguanas just walking through their giraffe exhibit.
They got monkeys down there too. There's a real troop. Yeah. There's a wild troop of macaque monkeys that have been there since the early '90s in Florida. Yeah. True story, man. Macaques.
Yeah. So it's
I mean, wild jungle.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are certain things. You know, I go back and forth between how much regulation there should be, but it is one of those cases where I'm sure it does ecological damage.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you rather have a monkey running around your backyard than a fucking raccoon? I'd rather a monkey.
I know.
The monkeys are smart. They figure out a way to get in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Start stealing my shit.
That's
problems then.
It can create problems. But
I get it. But you know what has happened from the beginning of time? Between continental drifts and giant storms and everything this planet's went through, animals weren't in one place, something happens, and now they're in this place.
It definitely has accelerated. I mean, think about all the fish.
We definitely accelerated it, no doubt. But you know what? I mean, it is what it is. I don't think we got the right to go exterminating them because we allowed them. I don't know. It could go on for hours about that, but I feel like they're there. Yeah. They're there.
Yeah,
it's a hard one. It is a very controversial one. I mean, and
very controversial.
Different people have different viewpoints about it. You know, I think reptiles definitely has a different take on it, where they're on a more, if they're invasive, you catch. I mean, definitely with the Burmese, they're supposed to be euthanized.
Yeah.
But you bring up the whole concept of other invasive species in South Florida. I mean, there are wild parrot populations, but nobody's gonna go out and exterminate the wild. You know, there are specific populations of Amazons and different conures that are out there.
The fish you said too, though. The fish I get. The fish are wreaking havoc, man. Like those snakeheads.
Oh yeah.
Go to Florida to go fish for specific fish, you know.
Yeah.
Snakeheads are just between snakeheads and the tilapia and shit. They're destroying all the cichlids. They are messing some shit up.
Yep, definitely. So I don't know. That is a very, very tricky topic. The
peacock bass.
Peacock bass.
Beautiful though. But,
although I wouldn't mind going down there to fish for some cichlids. You know, I've seen like people catch the big red devils, the red-headed cichlids, and stuff. I mean, I'm a fish keeper, so like, love that.
I don't know one reptile keeper that wasn't at one point.
I know, right?
Like everyone I've talked to is like been into fish at one point in their life. Like
it's a natural transition, I think. You know, it's just like my parents. It's hard to ask for like a snake, you know, if your parents don't like reptiles. So asking for a fish was a lot easier.
True.
So I had fish for the longest time, and then you know, I went that route and did a lot of fish for a little while, and then you know, transition. As I got older, you can push and advocate for yourself a little bit better. So the reptiles came much later for me.
Yeah. So with tokays, do they usually drop duds before?
Not really, but I will say that I've had females that will lay a lot of eggs, but not all the eggs hatch. So
Okay.
it could be potentially duds, and it could be many reasons.
Well, yeah, I'm just asking because in the reptile world, right, where they're like wait until they lay duds before you pair them. So I was wondering, like with tokays, do they do the same thing where they wait, or you just like, all right, you guys
They
both round a
tend
good?
to not really.
Okay.
Not that I've seen. Like, I have some females that are housed individually for like over a year, so they've gone through a whole season or a season or two, and they've never laid infertils themselves.
Okay.
Which is different than like leeches. They do lay duds or parth. Actually, you never know. Sometimes those eggs are partho.
See, I talked about this before. I had chihuahuas, right? Now, one chihuahua in particular who was not paired, right? Now, everybody waits for the first duds or whatever. This girl was 3.5 years old, never laid a fucking dud. Never laid a dud. And I'm like, yo, like, what's wrong with her? And then I talked to somebody and they were like, sometimes a female will not lay eggs. They're talking about different species. Gecko till a male is there, and she has the option to have viable eggs.
Yeah.
I put a male in the cage with her. I paired her up, wound up saying fucking and just paired her. 3 months I had eggs.
Yep. Same thing. My
She never wasted a dud.
My lychee pairs don't always give me, like the females don't always give me duds. The first eggs aren't the fertile eggs. So, which is, Now, I definitely will say that in the New Caledonian stuff, you definitely see more
popular.
duds
Yeah.
than, laying infertils as a first step. I mean,
which again is very unnatural, right? Like that's a human thing. An animal, especially what it does to some animals, calcium-wise and nutrient-wise, animals not going to put themselves through that to not have a chance of having a viable offspring, the next generation. That's just too much stress. Female crested gecko is not going to be like, yeah, I got to lay a set of duds before I go and have me a real baby. Like, that doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a human, I guess, a human trait that we try to put onto our animals, right?
And not for nothing, laying a dud is just as stressful on an animal as having a fertilized egg.
And it's almost a waste of resource.
It is. I mean, I think it's more like a part of the the reproductive cycle that that female is just going through that whole cycle. So it's some animals just go through that whole. It's just like I guess how the egg-laying chickens, you can mimic certain external factors to trick that chicken into constantly laying eggs, even though there's no rooster there, really. Right? It's the same thing. So
Yes. Like I said, waste of resource. They're using up calcium that they could be using on an actual baby.
Yeah. I'm thinking, especially with the chihuahuas. I mean, that's a big drain.
Yeah.
The female.
Yeah. So let's get into the starry nights, because those are the other things I've been fucking fascinated by. Like every time I go on Morph Market, I'm looking at that, and then I've been looking at the CPX. He had it was like a black-eyed paradox.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was black-eyed as well. I was like, holy shit. But no, like these. So where do these
Starry Night?
Well, no,
Paradox Starry Night.
No. I was looking at I was looking at Starry Nights, and then I was looking at some. It was a black-eyed paradox from CPX.
Yeah. Josh has a little paradox baby that he produced.
That thing is nice looking. Man,
jet black eye is really cool looking.
Yeah.
So cool animal there. Starry Nights, I think they were discovered to science back in 2021. I think.
So crazy.
Literally just a couple of years. Never seen this animal before. Newly described, I'm sure it's been known, but like the published article was in 2021. So in a span of like 4 years, this animal is now available in the hobby. A couple of years ago, I think.
That's crazy.
Underground, I think. Reptiles brought in the first pair into the U.S. That pair went for a lot of money. Unfortunately, that pair did not produce. I believe the male floated around. I don't know if that pair, I believe the female died. I'm not sure. But anyways, there hasn't really been a whole lot after that initial pair came in. It was an animal that, we've seen pictures of it in the scientific articles, and then we've seen that one particular pair that came into the States. I think last year, somehow they got wind of it. This is an animal. This is a gecko. It's called the starry tokay, but it is not a tokay gecko. It is related to the tokay geckos. It has a lot of similarities. It's in that family of gecko, Geckko. So I imagine that they are very similar, and they are very similar in a lot of ways, having the family structure and stuff like that. And, the body structure is very similar too. But so it is really like a tokay gecko with black, like a black base color and then white dots. Anyways, this is a tokay that's supposedly found in a cave system in, I don't know if it's a specific cave system or in many different caves, but it's caves in Thailand. Recently discovered, as I said before. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but a whole bunch of them made their way into Europe last year, I believe.
Oh,
and
really?
some of those animals have trickled in to the U.S. And I think more and more people. So what was once rare and unknown is now, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better word than exploited, but it is being.
Yeah. I mean, even the price tag is not crazy. I think that's probably one of the reasons as well. Like you could get a pair for like 1,300, 14.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with the initial pair when they first came in.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only pair, so super rare. You thought it was impossible to get them. And now I've been told by more than one person that people have seen that these exporters over there in Thailand,
mm-hmm.
and some of them actually seen like literally cratefuls. Like it's not like just one or two. So like I don't know if it's a case where somebody's just found out which cave they're in and they're just grabbing everyone that they can take, which is horrible too, I would have to say. And that's why it's really a supply and demand thing, right? If you get a lot more and you want to move them quickly, you sell them for cheaper. So a lot more being caught than we thought. So what we thought they were rarer than they really are. I don't know if they might still be rare, but like they're more readily available. So again, a good enough number of them went to Europe, and then the Europeans. I mean, it was easier to get them out from Europe to over here to the U.S. My group came from, I believe, my group and a couple of other people that have got them in at the same time also came from Europe. I think there must have been another group that actually came out of Thailand too, if I'm not mistaken, because I know when I was bringing mine in from Europe, and those were animals that were kind of long-term, they were from last year, and then they were, I guess it's like reselling basically. Yeah. But I also know at the same time, a bunch of them also made it. I think Strictly was, at the wholesalers. So I think they got in. I don't think theirs came from the same place. So there was another group that came in too. So these are animals that are available. Yeah. And I just saw Dan Larry, DM Exotics. I just watched his video the other day, and when he was showcasing what he was brought over, he imported some as well.
I figured he would, because he has a facility over in Indo. Correct. So I figured it was only time before he actually got some in.
So, and it's an animal I don't believe there's CITES yet. So it's a little easier.
That's another reason there too.
I mean, I don't think there's quotas for them yet, so it's a little easier.
Yeah.
But very similar to tokays. I've been trying to play around with how I'm keeping them. One of the key things is everybody says that they're a cave-dwelling species. So I've been trying to keep, housing one of the pairs in the my bottom row of cages.
Yeah, keeping it a little cooler than your other ones.
Yeah, it's just naturally just a cooler area. So I want to see if that makes a difference and see if I get more success that way with them.
Yeah.
So far,
and were yours wild caught that you got in?
Them, and then out of that, they are. Well, one was a DOA, so it's really only 5 animals that I have. There are other people that have larger groups. So I have 2 pairs and 1 lone male, if I remember correctly. So I'm trying to play around. Hopefully, there's a couple of us that have them here that are trying to breed them. Right? Bledsoe, Tommy at Bledsoe's Exotics, and Richie at Gecko King. So a bunch of us are trying to have them set up, and hopefully we can breed them, get them established in the States. I mean, if they breed, hopefully they breed as well as some of the other gecko species. For the most part, they all do pretty well, or it's not like super, super hard. I think it's just, we're at the stage of getting these animals well established. Luckily, the pair that I have been eating very well. And I have no doubt that, given some time, I think they will reproduce.
You'll do it. You'll do it. Has anyone in Europe had any luck yet or no?
I believe.
That you know of?
Somebody that I talk on social media, one of the breeders in France has a couple of pairs, and he has eggs. And I think he's waiting for them to hatch.
Okay.
Steve is his name. Yeah.
I'm
So
guessing he's probably doing the same thing as he does with if he has tokay. He's probably just letting them stay in the enclosure.
Yes.
And let them just
Yep.
incubate in there.
He has, so in Europe, he has like really, just large setups for the pairs and let them do their thing. They find the right space to lay their eggs. I'm imagining it's like all other of the gecko species. These eggs come out in pairs. They're glued onto a surface, and you just wait for them to hatch. I mean, that's how we hatch all tokay. It's the tokays, the skunk geckos, and the green-eyed geckos. They all breed more or less the same, in a similar fashion. So I'm imagining these starries would be very similar.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that, I've been keeping them exactly the same as the tokays.
Yeah. And so when do they fire up and fire down, or are they
They do fire up and down a little. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a really dark black color,
Mhm.
and then the spots really become very contrasting, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like a more light black, like a grayish brown color.
Okay. Yeah.
Variation. But, it's very, very similar. Again, I'm going to go back to, related back to fish, right? I used to keep a lot of different plecos, and there are a lot of different plecos that are black with white spots, or the black diamond stingrays type of. It has that kind of black animal with white dots.
Yeah,
it's that kind of look. It looks. I mean,
very attractive geckos.
I love. I think that color scheme works really well.
Nice little tuxedo stuff.
Very attractive. Yeah, very interesting.
So how many so kind of off a story, but just instill into gecko, right? How many genuses are well represented in the U.S.
in terms of
or species?
Species of gecko, I believe there's tokay, there is the green eyes, the white line or skunk geckos. So those are three that have. I believe the flying gecko has been reclassified as a gecko species.
Really?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I might be wrong. You might have to look that up to double check, but I believe they might be reclassified. And then there's the golden gecko that is also, I think, gecko badeni, I think something like Baden's gecko. So those are like the more common. And then there's a couple of other ones that are not well represented at all. Talking about starries, I think there was an article that was released last year, or I think it was last year, 2024, of another species of gecko that looks similar to the starry. It's gecko Shiva. It's also a Thai gecko, a cave-dwelling species, very similar looking. It's like this dark base color with white, yellow spots. But so there's more than one of these species. That one is not. I don't know if anybody can. Even looking at the article, it's really hard to. Sometimes the differences visually are very hard to discern. I mean, just looking at them. I was talking about this the last time. Even with the green-eyed geckos, is actually a whole. There was a paper that was released. I mean, I forgot how long it was.
Yeah, you said it was a whole.
It's actually several species.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just one gecko. And theoretically, I don't know if tokays are really all just one species too, because it's such a wide distribution. Mm-hmm. Are they really all the same? I know that there's one. The one in Vietnam is classified as a different species, I believe, or a subspecies. I think it's gecko rivesi or something like that, like Reevsi. I think they from what the pictures I've seen, they do have a slightly different look. The pattern is a little different. It's almost like a little striping behind the head or something like that. So I can only imagine, because that gecko, but it's with a lot of species. The more, I don't think anybody really paid attention to any of these species, right? Tokays, green eyes, skunk geckos, golden geckos. Those are all like animals, especially with tokays, right before they went CITES. And nobody really, you said before, they're just
throwaway gecko.
They're caught. Yep, they're caught by the thousands, and the ones that make it to the pet trade are really just like whatever. I mean, they're eaten in their home countries, right? They're a food source. So the ones that make it out here is just like, oh, here's some. It's like bycatch. It's just like it is like a throwaway gecko.
Yeah, because
right?
I remember,
and nobody thinks twice about it.
Yeah, I remember when I got my golden gecko, it was like $15.
Yep.
But
still
didn't even know. When I first got it, I was like, man, am I even keeping this thing right? Because that thing was because I didn't know anything about fired up and fired down, and that thing was just dark. I'm like, is this thing just pissed off, or is it about to die on me? And I ended up giving it to a friend. But if I would have knew about firing up and fire down, I'd be like, okay, cool, I would have kept it. But
yeah. And I believe that species actually might get regulated. There's some rumors that species might get regulated also.
Oh yeah.
Go 15 to $1.50 real quick.
Right?
Yeah. You know, the same thing like
good for them.
when we talked about
Yeah.
before about the like the Chinese water dragons. You know,
Oh yeah.
went from like $10 to like 300. I saw a few on a morph market. I was like, oh, look at those things. They're like $250 a piece.
I know. And it's just like, where are all the water dragons that were here? Because, at least here in New York, when they stopped selling green iguanas, I mean, it was quickly replaced by the Chinese water dragon.
Yeah.
And all of those were probably wild caught or farmed animals from Asia that they imported that were just sold. And really, I think literally almost at a comparable price to the green iguana.
Oh yeah.
I mean, green iguanas are also farmed down in Central America too. But again, for the amount of animals that were being sold, I mean, I am surprised that they're not more like a bearded dragon, right?
Yeah.
Because they should be well established. There's a ton of these animals were sold over the last 2 decades.
But I also think that people just didn't even know how to take care of them either.
Correct.
So I
think that's the important
other part right there. That's why
that's important. Why I think people need to work with different species. I mean, other people have talked about this here, but it is really super important because right now we do have like 1 or 2 people working with like 1 or 2 like key species. Like, there's only one breeder of this particular species of gecko.
Yeah.
And then if this person decides to no longer do it, well, then that hope goes.
It's happened a few times with a few species. I mean, very recently it's happened.
Because people are drawn to certain species, and I think a lot of people are drawn to certain species probably because there's everybody wants this type of gecko right now, so I'm just gonna follow what everybody. I mean, that's the problem if you're just following trends.
Basically,
You're not thinking, hey, do I really like this? Would I still like this animal if nobody else wanted it? That's the real question, right? Like, if this has no market value, would you still keep one of these?
It's a beautiful question. That's a beautiful question that people should ask themselves.
Right?
That's most of my collection right now.
Right? You have to find hey, and I get it. We have to make we have to make a living in this hobby too, right? Like, you have to. I get it too, but if your whole thing is just driven by that, it does become very hard to keep the passion going. You really have to I would always say, do you think this animal is cool if it had no market value? And if it didn't, then I don't think that's the right species that you should, invest a whole lot of time with, because eventually all these things go in that cycle, really. So again, I do see, again, going back to the discussion of regulation, I can only see there be more regulation of this whole hobby and trade. I can't imagine how it's going to go the other way. Just think about we were talking about this last time, think about, we grew up in the 90s or whatever, early 2000s, and the amount of animals that were available so easily is very different than what's available now. And some of them, the same thing. I mean, you have to establish the species here. I mean, it's just, think about all the Australian species. Had somebody not put in the work to try to establish them prior to the ban. I mean, I know animals have come out of through different ways, but it's still not a whole lot of animals that were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had to work to get them established, and certain species lend themselves to it, and certain species you have to put in the work. Somebody has to be. You need more than one dedicated breeder and stuff. So it's just tokays. I love tokays, but I am slowly it's just I like the morphs. I like that whole playing around with the genes, but I also really like some of the other species that are, again, they're still considered, for the longest time. I think about the green-eyed geckos. Nobody really thinks much about them. There were species of gecko that was imported in large numbers. It's not as colorful as the tokay gecko, even by its own, but there's something really cool about them. And you got to try to appreciate, some of the, you're true gecko enthusiasts would definitely see the beauty in all the different types of species.
I have one of those. You ever seen a Helma? You've seen a Halmahera geckos?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one. It blows my mind when I hold that. When I look at her, that they're not more popular than they are.
I know.
That thing is so friggin' cool, man.
Yes.
It's blows my mind that people will go and buy something that a million other people have with all these other cool animals out there, and people won't look twice at a Halmahera gecko. I mean, in the natural form, they are beautiful animals.
Correct.
Their color, their tails, their nails, their skin, their eyes. It's like, I guess if you want what everyone else has, go ahead. But there's some cool shit out there, man.
Correct. And I think there's a lot of species that are overlooked. I mean, Hamahara geckos are definitely one of them. I actually just got a pair of those.
Really?
Just for the fun of it.
Yo, they're
I was just
awesome.
like, I was showing them,
They
let me
are
see what
awesome.
I was like, oh, look, when I got them, it's like, this kind of looks like a cross between a green-eyed gecko and a chihuahua type of, it has it's a cool look. And I was just like, it's a nice, decent
their
gecko.
nails, even their tail. I love their tails.
Yeah, so
it's like flat on the body. It's like flat, but yet Brentlets. You see, they're awesome, man.
So,
fucking cool.
Yeah, definitely a lot of different. There's a lot of geckos out there. I mean, it's a very
there's so many. It's ridiculous. Like
it's a highly evolutionary
over 1,500
successful
species.
yeah.
genus or family of reptiles or lizards or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
It's found
Very
in every
adaptable.
continent, except for the two, the Antarctica, right? So every continent has geckos. It's all over the world.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So there's no shortage of species to work with. You'll definitely find, so I think they're amazing.
All flavors too. Desert, jungle, everything in between. Dry forests. I mean, everything but aquatic. And from what I gather, there's actually some partially aquatic gecko species out there.
Yep.
Did you go to that gecko symposium in RBC a few years back?
No, I missed that.
Okay. Yeah, because they talked about like a semi-aquatic one from New Cal. Yeah.
I have to.
John from Pangea.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess him so some guy from Europe discovered it, and then I guess had John come back for a second go round to help him try to find some more, see where they can locate where it's coming from, and I think they found one or two two of these geckos, so they're kind of doing their stuff and writing the papers for that stuff right now. Yeah, but I mean, it generally, you know what, and it's just a brown gecko too. That's all. It's just a brown gecko, but I mean, it looks like it'd be decent size though. We got a bunch of little art for it for going to the symposium, and it was just like this little brown with some a little bit literally is different shades of brown pattern in it. I mean, that's my jam too, because a lot of the Cernodactylus, those are all brown fucking geckos, so that's my jam. So I'm cool with that.
That's cool. Yeah, there's so many out there, so much. I mean, look, I kudos to all the people that are doing the field work, all that legwork to really, find out how the natural history of the natural behaviors of these animals and sharing that. I think that's super cool, because otherwise, I mean, they are a highly successful family of animals, but knowing the conditions and where they're coming from and sharing that information is really critical in helping us, all those people that are working with all the different species, establish them, because some of them are very specific in their needs.
Sure. We didn't have that. I mean, I guess in theory you could be successful, but the reason we have gotten more successful over the years is because we have more information on these things, natural environments,
And it makes, I mean, I believe that's probably one of the benefits of social media. It's it makes
very true
sharing of information much easier. It's hard. True. I would think about these scientific articles. If you're not a person that's subscribing to these scientific journals, it's very hard for you to get access or even to know that
it's hard to read them.
Correct. It's hard to read them in the first place, but to even know that there is an article about this particular species, unless you are in that community or in that field, how would you ever know? But now, if somebody shares that on Instagram or Facebook or even YouTube or whatever, all the different platforms, hey, it's out there. You share it with me, I share it with you. It becomes so easy. Even if you don't read the article, I know that there is an article. There is an article about this gecko. And think about going back to the Starry Nights and the gecko Shiva, that stuff. Different people actually even when those articles first became public, different people were sending them to me and just oh, did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm just it's because I don't, I'm not subscribing to, I'm not reading a whole lot of scientific journals myself. I love reading about these things, but it's just just the time and everything. So I would say that's the benefit of having social media. It does make the sharing of information much easier. much the same way these podcasts have all come out. I mean, it's all about, through all of this talk, hopefully somebody can get some nugget of knowledge that they can use to fine tune or do whatever they have to do to make the conditions right.
I just had an idea for like an app or a website. If we made like a global reptile keepers from across the globe, you could technically ask someone in Indonesia how these animals are living in their backyard type shit, Like instead of like being out there, you could just ask reptile enthusiasts from around the world
nice little database.
What they're observing in these environments.
Yeah.
And they could just log it into the thing, and then you could look it up from, segregate biologists from all around the world. Like, that'd be cool. I mean, I think that's one thing we...
Yeah, and I think there are a lot more people here in the States that are doing that kind of traveling too. Like, they're actually going to, like, they're really interested in this, whether it's for YouTube or not, but, like, hey...
information is information, so...
Exactly, so they're making it public, which is... And sometimes traveling to these places is not easy. I mean...
No.
Well,
yeah, I've heard nightmare stories about, like, Borneo and shit, so, yeah.
I know, so... I mean, I hope to do that one day personally, but I think, again, shout out to all the people that have doing all the legwork for all of us.
iNaturalist makes it easy too, because when people catalog, take a picture and catalog it in its natural environment, you could just look. And I mean, through observation, you could check out, the environment around. I mean, I guess technically we don't know the temperatures and whatnot, but you could look up annual averages and whatnot, but you can get a good idea of where the animal was photographed,
Yeah. I was just on iNaturalist today at work.
Yeah.
I was looking up some for Pachydaculus macrolepis, something like that. Just because I was like, oh, I'm about to get some of these in September, so I was like, all right, let me do some research. So yeah, I was just on there just looking that shit up. So I was like, okay, just looking at, like you said, I'm looking at the habitats. Like, all right, this is it's sandy, but with a little bit of large stones. There's a bunch of sticks everywhere, so there, you're trying to figure out, like, all right, how am I gonna, recreate that wherever you're putting them in, whether it's in a exoterra or you're doing a bin, whatever you're doing, but you want to get it close enough to where they're gonna feel comfortable.
Yep. I mean, that's the good thing about having kept many different species and working with different habitats. Is you kind of know how to make those conditions work or replicate those conditions in a cage of your size, and then you know what to do, and then you know all the different pitfalls that you have to keep in mind. I mean, that's part of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Reptile keeping, constantly tweaking.
So, where do you see the future in tokays? Or actually, I think it's not even tokays, the gecko genus.
I'm hoping more and more people. I think people are getting more interested in different species. I still think that tokays are by far the most popular right now, and I think they are still moving in that they're like that upward increasing in popularity, because I think with all the morphs, that's driving a lot of it. And I still think that they probably still overshadow some of the other gecko species. The starry nights are definitely very popular because they're a very, very cool looking gecko in its own right. And I think when those actually become established in the States, they'll hopefully become even more popular. I think people are still, I think the price tag is definitely a lot more given. I'm just following the trajectory of like a lot of other species. It's definitely it came down a lot quicker than.
Yeah. I mean, because granite still costs $1,200. Yep. That's for one granite. Yeah, you get a pair of those starries for like, I've seen them as high as like $1,800 for a pair. But no, I mean, it's still manageable. No, you're getting two. Correct. So,
but I think that's all. Again, it's because the tokays have all the morphs that fuels a lot of the thing. Just like I think that's modern reptile keeping. One of those that have morphs definitely drive a lot of the popularity. I'm sure with the crested geckos, that's one of the huge, key factors for why they are the way that they are in terms of popularity.
Oh yeah.
Besides, they are easy to keep and all that stuff. But I think the added value of having different morphs definitely help drive. Just like
gives people the idea that they can be the first at something, right?
Correct.
So many other people did this for the first time that maybe I can be the first to do something new or different. It's the possibility.
Be that world's first, all that stuff.
Yeah, that gives people
There's a lot of that.
incentives, unfortunately,
Definitely
people are looking for their moment of fame, their 15 minutes.
Definitely a lot of that. Yeah. But I think that's part of human nature too. So I think that happens.
For sure. It is. Absolutely.
A lot of communities is what's happened, not just the gecko world.
Yeah.
No.
But I do think that they are going to get more popular, and hopefully tokeis. It's definitely, I think it's always going to be a little bit more of a niche just because they are not very friendly.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big drawback. And I think we're in a phase where a lot of people that are in hobby are just crested gecko takes off really easy because they're so easy to handle.
Yeah.
Ball python, easy to handle. Leopard gecko, fat tail gecko, very easy to handle.
No, I mean it's people just need to understand that you're dealing with something with much more higher intelligence as well. Like you said,
correct.
Like we had in our first podcast we ever done, and we were talking about it, is like close. You got to earn that respect like you would with a monitor, right? Yep. So you got to put in that work in order to get to that level where that tokay is going to trust you, because that's what it is about. It's about that trust. If it doesn't trust you, it's going to be defensive.
Correct.
So
yes, and I will say that it is possible to have a tame tokay.
Yeah,
it is possible.
Definitely, I've seen plenty.
I've seen a couple of people. Yep, couple of people.
I hold mine all the time. Mine ain't shit. I take around.
Yeah, I mean,
I have one tame one.
I see this one lady. I forgot what her name is. She was on Wally's show, and and she was actually at the symposium too, talking about like how tokeis and all that family orientation stuff. But yeah, she would even during like any RBC, she would have her chilling on her shoulder, chilling like on the enclosures, out.
Yep.
Doesn't have a care in the world, because it's like, all right, cool. I trust you. I feel like you're not going to harm me. So I'm good. I'm chilling.
Yeah. It's time too, though. Time, consistency. They're smart enough that they can absolutely recognize patterns and consistency.
Yeah.
I literally bought one just to watch and observe. Now I had them as a kid, but and it's very intelligent. There's not much more you can say about it. They are literally on a monitor level intelligence. They know sounds. They know different. Everything. Light cycles. They're my cat walks in the room, and if I'm holding her, and the cat walks by the door or something, or the dog comes in, she doesn't freak out, but she's noticeably different. She's on guard more than when we're just in the room and the room is the room. Yeah. She can tell something just changed.
Yep.
It's
it's definitely. Look, if you put in the time, you can get a tame one, and it's just an animal that is not naturally. That's not they're not inherently or innately that kind of animal. They are an animal that is, either run or defend itself. It's that type of animal.
Fight or flight.
You have to really work. Fight or flight. Literally, it's just. That's the one key thing.
It should be more attractive, in all honesty. Who wants an animal that just anybody could hold, right? It's like having a dog. I would fucking hate my dog if anybody could just come pick his leash up and walk on it. No, we ain't doing all that. You ain't just everybody's dog.
True.
I could be there, touch my dog's leash. Go ahead and try to touch my dog's leash while he's sitting. And even if I'm right there, he ain't having it. Not having it.
Look, it's like, there's tons of gecko species. There's so many. So if you really want to have something that's like very easygoing, anybody can pick up, crested geckos are there for everybody, and leopard geckos
sure.
for everybody.
They make those cool 3D printed ones too.
True. But look, just like dogs, some people want a really, like a hard working dog, right? You want that, the Doberman or like a German Shepherd that's like hardcore. And some people want like a lap dog. That's why there's different things. So there's something for everybody. And I think tokeis definitely are in itself very underrated too, because I think just the normal one is a very beautiful looking animal.
Hell yeah. Again, I'm a Mets fan, man. They're like born with my color, my favorite colors.
Yeah. The other hard part is unlike the day geckos, like let's say you're okay without handling them. If you were to keep a pair in a cage, you don't really see them. That's the other problem too. So they're not an animal that's like out and about all the time. Yeah. Like a day gecko is going to be out, even though you can't touch them really. You can see them, right? You can admire them, and you can treat them like tropical fish, right? It's look but don't touch type of thing. Versus tokays and all the gecko species, for the most part, during the daytime, they're in like a tube behind a piece of cork or whatever. They're not like out and about. So that is another hard part. So if touching is one of your thing, or if not touching, then it's looking. So it is, but it is what that whole family, as I've said many times, one of the big draws for me is that family structure. And if you're into like just observing how that plays out, I think it's like a great having a nice cage. If you had like a big cage, you can literally keep a large family of these animals together for
That's what's driving me to want to get a male, man. Is
Correct.
I want to see that. I want that family structure. I want to see them interact.
They literally really do live together like a family.
Yeah.
Like literally, they hide together all in the same tube. You'll see if the eggs are laid in different times. You'll see them hatch out different sizes.
We've all seen the video of the tokay, the girl getting bit up by the snake.
Yep.
And her big dog comes through and gives him the old hokey doke, man. Gives him the old shake.
That was shared, all over.
Gives him the old shake and bake, man. Make it off my girl.
Extremely ferocious animal. They're, again, highly intelligent. So it's definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, I definitely want to get some. Like I said, but I want to get like a massive enclosure. So no, I can have a huge family of them in there. So I don't have to feel like, oh, I need to take you guys out because you're getting too big. No, if it's a big enough one, they'll all be fine for a while.
Yeah.
So that's my goal for right now.
Yeah.
Make one. Make something. You got to take like.
It's gonna be a custom piece.
Blade.
Yeah, it's gonna be a custom piece for sure. All right.
You know what's really cool? If you like the large family of geckos
or
a large colony, mourning geckos.
Yeah, those two. Well, them I like Heteronotia benoi, those Australian ones.
Oh
yeah. They're terrestrial, but I like those as well.
Richie was telling me he keeps his sakura in colonies, man. His leaf tails.
Yeah, I've always heard that they're not aggressive.
They do better.
Yeah, they're not aggressive.
So they do better.
Yeah.
And sometimes when the males they actually compete with the females. If there's no competition, the females won't reproduce. They want to see a male competition of some sorts for them to pair. He says so. He usually keeps in his colony. He'll keep multiple males.
That's really cool. I actually didn't know that at all.
Yeah. I think I've watched a few, I watched Reptiliatus, and he had multiple males in his enclosures for Sicerae and Fantasticus. So it might be just that Europlays genus. So
I mean, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lovely...
They live on an island. How far can they actually go? Think about
true.
it. Can't just run every other male off. I mean, they all got to go somewhere.
So, but yeah.
All right. We're about to get up out of here. So, Ant, you want to hit him with the closer, man?
Where would you like to see the Starry Night species within the next 5 years, scientifically and in the hobby? What would you like to see happen with this new, amazing species?
As I said before, I hope that we can establish them in the U.S. The goal is to pretty much establish them to a point where you don't need to have these large numbers that are coming out. I mean, that's the one thing I see it. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. The fact that, within this animal is really not known to any of us in 5 or 10 years ago, right? So, but the fact that it's so easy for me to get them is a little sometimes scary. And if it's really true, I've never seen pictures of this, but if they're really being taken out in large numbers, I can't imagine that being a sustainable thing.
Very sad.
So I don't see why it can't be established. And again, this goes for all the species. You never know how legislation and regulations are going to play out. I can only see it being more restraining as we go, as time goes on. So you have to work to establish these species because you never know when any of these things, the export and import all just shuts down. And it's what you have is what you have. You never can expect that. So I think the best thing is to really establish these animals here in the States so that everybody can enjoy and appreciate them. And hopefully we'll learn more about them, right? Because I don't think we truly know that much about them, except that they exist.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've been, so we're trying to play everything out. But again, I hope, with all these different social media and between the social media platforms and the podcast and everything, how information can be shared easily so that a lot of people have success.
Nice.
It is an amazing animal.
Yeah, and I definitely want to, after, like I said, once you get some breeding going and get your eggs hatching, definitely want to have you back on to talk about that whole process. Yeah. Like, and which one was working better for you? Was it the cooler one on the bottom or was it the top one? So definitely want to hear back about some updates on this stuff.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you, Jimmy?
Instagram is the most active on Instagram, so hit me up on, it's really just Ghouls-N-Geckos, and then Morph Market as well. But Instagram is the platform that I'm the most active on. So
nice. Hit
me up if you have any questions.
Got any shows coming up? Event any shows?
I am going to be at the Nassau Reptile Expo. That is on June 28th. So I'll be there. And
where's that at?
It's like right by the Nassau Coliseum. So it's on Long Island. So,
okay.
And it's not too far from me. And then I'm going to be at White Plains also in July. I think that's the second weekend in July. I think it's like, I remember. So those are 2 shows that I.
Cool. Well, this one's gonna be released this week, so make sure you guys check out Jimmy over at these 2 shows coming up in June.
Yeah, come by and say hello.
Yeah,
I'll bring some geckos.
My nephew will be at the one in July. Me, I'm taking my nephew. We're going down to White Plains.
Nice.
White Plains is always fun. I go. It's really to talk to, like, our way of getting to see a lot of people that we talk to online, put a face, to the name, and then getting to talk to other breeders that it's like. Forces us to get together and connect.
Nice. All right, Jimmy. Well, dude, pleasure to have you on again, even though we had to do a redo. But,
no problem.
Like you said, talking.
Can always talk about geckos. I said, you're talking geckos is not like, it's just like, it gives me a break from talking about
work,
school.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, definitely have a great night, morning, afternoon, whenever you listen to this, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
All right. Have a good Bye.
Yo, creeping in the dark, life nocturnal, dark and dark, both paths arboreal to terrestrial, sticky toes gripping forest through desert explore, listen close, Gecko podcast, that's knowledge galore, reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason, trade secrets flow, no time wasted, from tropics to town, it's sight raining, with every chat, reptile game changing. Escaping heat waves, tan under rays, desert sand echoes, sun blazing days, little hustlers, camouflage a maze, catch them speaking wisdom, the wild on replay. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason, trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining, with every chat, reptile game changing. Shadows unseen, master of the skies, chameleon dream. Lizard tails flip, strip getting clean. Gecko exchange, true reptile fiends. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile